Let's get a move on then and focus in on Reliance Industries, which is making the headlines day after day. What is the outlook when it comes to the retail business, the Jio platform, the valuations, as well as dissecting the spin-off of their O2C business? Joining in is Harshvardhan Dole. He is the Vice President IIFL. Thank you so much for taking time out. Let's just talk about the overall valuations for Reliance Industries post the culmination as well as the talks of multiple deals that have taken place.
Well, first let's look at what has happened in last 6 to 8 months' time. In last 6 to 8 months' time, Reliance has mobilized a pile of cash and significantly addressed the concerns on their balance sheet. Essentially, when we start this calendar year, there was an issue which was raised by investors in terms of the piling debt, and if the oil collapses, what will happen to their existing cash flows. So subsequently, then there was a huge, stake sale in Jio platform, and which helped them mobilize, huge amount of cash. That was followed by the rights issue, and now the stake sale in the retail business. So through these stake sales, not only cash has been mobilized, but they have helped, establish benchmark valuations for the respective businesses, and ensure that in case the core O2C business encounters any challenges on account of delayed recovery subsequent to COVID, it should not hurt their long-term growth ambitions. So it's a twin objective which Reliance has been able to achieve in last, maybe 3 to 6 months' time, when the rest of the companies have been struggling to maintain their cash flows and keep head above the water. If you come to the valuations part of it, in the current enterprise value, I think the base value ascribed to Jio platform as well as the retail more or less is in the price. And now what needs to be seen is essentially when the strategic investor is inducted in the O2C business, what is the benchmark valuation ascribed to it? But for that, I think from a near-term perspective, based on the deals which have happened, the stock prices in those valuation more or less in our view.
Sure. Harshvardhan, in particular, what about Reliance Retail? The Silver Lake deal, I beg your pardon, at 4.91 crore rupees pre-money has come in at a good valuation. So in total, as a sum of parts, how is it that you are valuing just the retail business standalone?
Sure. So retail, essentially, we are valuing it on FY22 EBITDA at 40 times. And bear in mind, if this is after FY21 blip that we are likely to witness in terms of the retailing EBITDA on account of COVID. Next year, the growth rate should revive substantially, and we reckon that EBITDA for retail should grow as high as 50 to 55%, of course, on a lower base. And that EBITDA, we are valuing at 40 times to arrive at an 1 year forward EV of 62 billion, which discounted backwards to about approximately $57 billion, which is more or less sync with the valuation that Silver Lake has played. I think one should also bear in mind that the valuation of future retail will start getting reflected gradually into Reliance's retail business enterprise value. And this will start happening as and when we get signs that the deal conclusion is more or less a certainty, and Reliance is actually taking over these assets. That I reckon will happen closer to perhaps year end or early part of next year. But I think there is a huge chance of value creation from taking over that particular business.
Sure. There was a whiff of an Amazon deal coming in the other day, as is the case with Carlyle this morning. But do you see more Silver Lake type of transactions coming in, much like what we saw in Jio, wherein there was a series of fund infusions take place?
One should bear in mind that the capital intensity of Jio is significantly different than Reliance Retail. Spare the acquisition that they are planning for, or rather concluded for essentially Future Group, Their overall retailing model thus far has been very asset light. And on back of that, they have been reporting very attractive ROICs, and I'd reckon in northwards of 25%. So it needs to be seen if they line up a series of investors like Silver Lake, how will they deploy the cash that they will mobilize thereafter? That's point number one. Point number two, media has always been speculating that one of the big online retailers is keen to acquire stake in Reliance Retail. And I'd rather not comment on the speculation and let the event unfold. But I'm going to just leave a thought as to, if Reliance has to grow its omni-channel presence, then it makes immense sense to tie up with one of the large online retailers who has made a presence in India.
Okay. What are some of the other triggers you're watching out for, RIL, and any target price you'd like to share with us today?
The other trigger, of course, that we are going to monitor here on is the spin-off of core O2C business, which essentially the NCLT filing is underway. In case there is any strategic investor which comes in, what valuation does the strategic investor pay? In our SOTP, we are currently valuing the O2C business at $62 billion, which is kind of shade lower than the MOU that RIL had signed with Aramco. That EV was pegged at $75 billion. And if the investor comes in at a valuation which is closer to that, then there is an upside to our 2273 rupees per share SOTP. And to that extent, the SOTP could get upward revised depending on what valuation that the investor comes in.
Okay. All right. That's on RIL then this morning. Harshvardhan, thanks so much for joining us and taking us through your view on how things stand currently.